Right, we spoke a little bit earlier on this morning about some of the forward options available to Lee Carsley for tomorrow's England squad. His first. Let's have a look at the other end of the pitch. Pete and Dougie are back with me. Dougie, it feels particularly significant, I guess, for Ben White.
Yeah, absolutely. He had a well-publicised falling out with Steve Holland, Gareth Southgate's assistant. He didn't want to go to the Euros, last summer. But this is a player that is playing at the top of his game, has been superb for Arsenal since his arrival there from Brighton, playing as a right-back, and will also play as a centre-back. And you look at Kyle Walker now getting on a bit, currently not getting in Man City's team. You look at Kieran Trippier, now 33. England need more right-back options. They also need more...
Never thought we'd say England need more right-backs.
And with Reece James injured as well, there is clearly a little bit of a shortage there at right-back at the moment, which is surprising given the plethora of options we have had in the last few years as well. But Ben White's such a quality operator at centre-back, at right-back, even at defensive midfield. I think it's the time for him to be brought back into the fold. It
was interesting, Pete, that Dougie mentioned a few there in Walker, Trippier, James. The one he didn't mention was Trent Alexander-Arnold, and we got by the end that Gareth Southgate didn't really want to use him as a right-back. Maybe Lee Carsley might.
Potentially, and whether he wants to use him coming into midfield, as we saw last season, that experiment didn't really work at the Euros, did it? This guy is pretty good at doing that, though. Rico Lewis, he's played every minute for Man City so far this season, in the Premier League and in the Community Shield victory. 19 years old. He's been trusted by Pep Guardiola now, which I think is a good credit to his quality and his experience that he's built up over the last couple of years. Easing his way into the Man City team and impressing regularly for me. Whenever I see him on the ball, he looks so composed and technically very good. And whether he's coming in from the right side into midfield or from the left side or just playing as a more orthodox right back, I think he's got a lot going for him. And as we spoke about the attackers, he's got that connection with Lee Carsley as well from the under-21s and coming through the England youth system. So he's a player who could add to his solitary cap.
Let's talk about Max Kiemann. I think there are a lot of Wolves fans who would say that this is a long overdue conversation because he's been doing this for a while, barely misses a minute, and he's impressed in his early days at West Ham.
Yeah, absolutely. Already grabbed an assist in this for, I think it was Jared Bowen on the weekend against Crystal Palace. But yeah, as you say, he's only missed one game in the last 2 years for Wolves. Now goes to West Ham. Wolves fans might be a little bit aggrieved that he's now getting England recognition, as you point out, but obviously knows Julian Lopetegui from his time at Wolves. Left-footed as well, which is quite a nice difference from Stones, Maguire, Gehi, etc. And with Lewis Dunk, into his 30s now, Lee Carsley might be looking to the future, and Max Kiemann can play in a back three, he can play in a back four. That versatility is really, really handy. I think he's pretty solid in the air as well. So all-round player, and I think he has a good chance of being called up.
It's a fascinating journey for him because he has got England caps in futsal. So, playing that version of the game, and that's really where he's developed this ability on the ball that we see from that assist for Bowen at the weekend as well. And so I think at 27, he's a little bit older than some of these other players we're talking about, but he's got to this point in his career now where he is in contention.
Goalkeeping-wise, it's interesting. I guess this morning that we report that Sam Johnstone closing in on a move to Wolves might get him some first-team football. What about James Trafford then as one of the options for Lee Carsley?
Yeah, obviously he won the Under-21 Euros last year with Lee Carsley as manager, but I don't think the idea that just, he's going to pick all the players that he picked in that squad is necessarily going to work out. The issue is that Aaron Ramsdale's obviously not playing for Arsenal at the moment. There's speculation that he's close to joining Southampton. Ajax have been interested at various points as well, so we'll wait to see what happens with that before deadline day. But James Trafford, if I'm totally honest, I don't think really shone last year for a Burnley side, got dropped towards the end of the season for Muric. I think he conceded 6 more goals than expected goals suggest he should have. So I struggle to see him getting a call-up this time.
Interesting that we talked about Ramsdale. Feels a significant couple of days and that you wonder whether there had been conversations with Southgate saying, look, I'll take you to the Euros, but then you need to go and find regular game time, and whether that conversation might be had with Lee Carsley too, that he needs to be playing at some point.
I think he does need to, because we had this situation at the start of last season where Arteta was suggesting he had 2 number ones. Well, it clearly wasn't the case. David Raya was clearly his number one, and that's the way it worked out. And now Ramsdale, it doesn't look like he's going to get minutes at Arsenal, so maybe he needs to go elsewhere to get his England caps again, because I think James Trafford may be one for the future, and maybe having him around the camp could be useful as well. This is something, he was taken to the preliminary squad for the Euros, didn't go all the way to the Euros, but just having him around, building that experience if they do think he's one for the future. As Dougie says, not the finished article yet, but maybe one down the road.